Buffs Nation, what's going on? We only got 2 days left until we see the Buffs play again, this time in Arizona State. Wonderful to have all you guys here checking in. Be sure to hit that like and let me know where you're watching from. And before I get started, quick shout out to my boy Martez from Yo Martez. Use that promo code SCOBuffs for 10% off the entire store. Links in the description. Also, link is in the description to Stephen Hamner's channel, QB Spotlight, who's joining us again. We're talking Shedeur. We're talking college quarterback play. Stephen, how are you doing?
Man, doing well down here in Austin, Texas. Finally getting some rain, so maybe we'll get some of that cooler weather you have up there in Colorado. Maybe you can give us some cool weather. But yeah, doing well overall, dude. Always happy to talk quarterbacks in college football.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm glad we were able to get this to work out. I know that you were gone last week on vacation. You had a good time in Florida?
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. Good to be back, though.
Good. Well, man, yeah, this USC CU performance or game last weekend, I mean, it had me a little nervous, honestly. When I was at that game, that first half, was not feeling too great. But then, man, the Buffs really made it a game. What were some of the things that really stood out to you from Shedeur's performance and duel against Caleb Williams this past week?
Yeah, I think the thing that stood out just offensively was you could finally the run game finally got going, right?
Yeah.
Like it wasn't just all on Shedeur, if that makes sense offensively. So the run game got going, which of course helped. But then something that I like from Shedeur that I wanted to see, but he didn't necessarily need to do so far this season, was he used his legs a little bit more, whether it was going off script or you saw a few more quarterback design runs, which I think just gave the defense something else to think about. I think at this point, offensively, anything you can do to slow down any type of pass rush, even if it's the defense second guessing, if that's Shedeur running some more, I think is worth and a bit more beneficial to do. I think he had 50-ish yards on the ground or so, and then you saw him making more throws on the run for a touchdown, like that one throw to that y'all's stud receiver. The name slips my mind.
Omari Miller?
Yeah. Like throwing that on the run, one of the best throws of the weekend. So I think that was the biggest thing that stood out to me. The pressure was still able to get there, but, he did well against the pressure still. The run game was going, used his legs a little bit more, and then ended up with a good game. And like you, when it was 34-7, even 41-14, it was still on the main TV for me, just for the simple fact, like, since Colorado started, they've always been like the main TVs. It's like must-see TV, right? And so I didn't like change it, but I was like, man, okay, this game's probably over. But then like slowly but surely got in, and then came down an onside kick. So overall for Shedeur, it's nice to see the legs a little bit. I thought they got the ball out a bit quicker as well, and maybe that slowed down the pass rush. Maybe USC took their foot off the pedal. Maybe USC's defense isn't great. It's probably a combination of everything, but still encouraging to see the offense respond and do a little bit better.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think even just comparing it to the Oregon game, I mean, man, of course I want the Buffs to win every game, but hey,
Absolutely.
if they're, if they don't get the win, but it's, high scoring and entertaining throughout, I'm usually pretty happy, regardless of the result. And it definitely kind of felt like a win when I was at the stadium, man. Like, we were all just still clapping at the end of the game. Like, we were really happy with their second half performance.
It was really good effort, right? I mean, it could have been easy. You could have easily been like, damn, we're down 34-7 again. Here's another Oregon, So yeah, good on them. And I also liked the press conference after, because, at least on Twitter, like it was Sean Lewis was getting some flack, like, hey, hurry up a little bit, like, wow, you run the ball so much or taking so much time. But Shedeur, like, defended him, was like, had some mature answers, like, yeah, that was the play call. It was my decision to do that. It's on me. I thought that showed a lot of maturity and just grasp of the offense and just like a lot of like unity in one. So, like a good reminder for us, like fans and people watching, like, we don't know what the quarterback's supposed to do, or we don't know like if the quarterback's doing something he's not supposed to do. So, a little bit easier said than done. So,
yeah. No doubt. And I think, Sean Lewis was kind of getting some unfair criticism with the game plan. I mean, going back and watching the tape, I talked about this all week, so I won't go on a long ramble, but even the first couple drives, man, where they were, short drives, were punting. I actually going back, I actually liked a lot of those play calls. I think we just lacked a little bit in the execution of them. But credit to Sean Lewis, man, for sticking with establishing the run, even in a hole, because we completely went away from that against Oregon once we got in the hole. And it made things so difficult. I think that Shedeur, if I remember correctly, been sacked like 24 times in the first 4 games. And, sacked twice against USC, but that's still a big improvement. And I think 45, a 50-50 even, 45 passes to 45 runs. Awesome. That ratio helped everybody out.
Yeah.
So, was there anything else in terms of, his performance, or maybe we could talk a little bit about so far this year? I mean, we're almost halfway through the college football season, sadly. What has been in your mind a lot of the strengths, ways that, Shedeur's been able to have success? What are they leaning into that's getting them a lot of success?
Yeah, I think with the play con, like everything is fair game for Shedeur. It's not like he can only do X and Y well, but can't do Z. He can do X, Y, and Z well, right? So like if you look at film, you look at numbers, a few things that stand out. We've talked about, the high football IQ and processing information and defense, but what does that actually look like, right? It's one thing to say, it's another thing to kind of like understand what that looks like. So if you look at the numbers, look at film, you're seeing accuracy from like all over the all over the field. And that's obvious, right? But he's got like 14 completions of 20 of balls being thrown there 20 yards or more. He's also getting the ball out really quick. Like he's able to do everything asked for him. Another like crazy stat is the distribution of the ball. It's not just middle of the field or outside the numbers. We've seen games where, okay, he's more middle of the field. But then like we've talked about this before, like we've also seen games where now the yards are more outside the numbers. So he's able to distribute the ball, which makes defending the offense and defending just him in general really hard. I think if you go back and look at film, you're going to see some good anticipation throws. You're going to see him using his legs to buy time, whether that's scrambling or just maneuvering in the pocket. I think the one thing, and people have talked about this before, and a lot of good quarterbacks struggle with this, is just not holding on the ball too long just because you don't want that play to go away. You're always trying to make a play. You're always trying to do something. So that was improved last week too. That's probably like the one area, you want to continue to improve on and try to help the offensive line out as well. But I think overall, I mean, you can't ask for a better start. Like arguably he's been the best football in college, the best player in college football, the first 5 games of the season. Him, Penix, Bo Nix, Caleb Williams, pretty much all the Pac-12 quarterbacks you can kind of throw in there. So, but yeah, it's been fun to watch from like a quarterback perspective because there's multiple things and multiple phases he's good at and multiple things he's doing well. It's not just one kind of ability that he's showcasing. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think, like you hit on, and y'all go be sure to check out Steven's video that he put out this week, breaking down some film of Shedeur throughout the entire year so far. So it's really great to get. I think it's like, 13 minutes long or so, just getting a high level overview of like some of the things that he's had a lot of success with, and showcasing film, to so you guys can visualize it. It's really great. But man, the anticipation that has been so huge. Going back to the USC game, there was this one throw where Shedeur, it was in the second half, he understood that a blitz was coming, and Omarion Miller was running like an out to the left sideline or whatever. And, he threw that with great anticipation. And for a freshman receiver, for them to be on the same page where he knows kind of the spot that he's going to be at. And I mean, Omarion, he just turned around maybe a split second before that ball was right there for him to catch. And then, was able to put it upfield. Like that sort of stuff is, it's a lot easier said than done, and that was to me his most impressive throw, because we've been waiting. We've been wanting those hot reads to see a little bit more of that. And we saw that.
Yeah, it's a testament to like throwing with anticipation is everyone, talking about the quarterback position is saying you got there with anticipation, but so much harder to do. You really have to be on the same page as your receivers. You look around the country, and quarterbacks that struggle tend to not throw with anticipation very well. I think it's a testament to Sanders and the receivers, because it seems like they're all on the same page for the most part. You have blunders every here and there, but it seems like they're all on the same page, and there's just good rhythm with it, right? You have good rhythm, you play with good rhythm, you throw with good anticipation, you have good feel, you're really comfortable. If you're not comfortable, it's going to be hard to throw with anticipation, because you're not exactly sure when the receiver is going to break. You think when he's supposed to, but is he really going to break at that 10-yard mark, the 12-yard mark? Some of these routes are so specific. If you're off by a yard or two, then now it goes from a completion to a pick. So I think this, like, having that feel, I think it's just a testament to the relationship that he probably has with the receiver, at least the comfort level that he has with them.
Yeah. His ability, to throw them open, I think, has been so crucial for us this year. And no way are we 3-2 right now going into week 6 without him at quarterback. That is for sure. And it's been cool to see, like you said, every game has looked a little bit different. Of course, you kind of scrap the Oregon game because there wasn't really much at all going on. But outside of that, we've seen them attack the defenses, specifically in the passing game in a variety of different ways. And I think it was great to see something that I've been wanting to see, is just some more pre-snap motion, some more RPO or option looks, because, I thought that this stuff would help keep Shedeur a little bit more upright. It would benefit the offensive line. It would help the run game get established and all of that. And it was great to see Shedeur run a little bit. I don't think that's a coincidence why he took less sacks while we were running the ball a little bit more, putting the ball in his hands. He is deceptively fast. I don't know if you saw this, that he reached over 20 miles an hour when he ran for that 25-yard touchdown or so. He's got a really top speed. But for some reason, he doesn't look like trying to think of, he doesn't look like Lamar Jackson out there. I guess he's a whole nother level, but he's got great legs.
He's got more than enough. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, no, I agree with everything you said. Absolutely. I think it was big. Like, using his legs definitely, I think, correlates in a good way with the sacks not being as high as the previous games.
Yeah, sure. No doubt. And I have a quick question for you, Steven. This might be a little bit of a tangent, but I'm just trying to make sense of maybe why we haven't seen as much of the motions, the RPOs, different things like that until this past week. Is it because, hey, when you got a brand new team, you got a brand new staff, there's only so much you can kind of implement within those 4 weeks before, your week 1 kickoff? Do you think we'll kind of continue to see more wrinkles and the offense continuing to build these creative, sets or actions?
Mm-hmm.
How does that work from having played college football in your mind?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question. I think one, like you said, definitely, I think the offense could definitely still be evolving, right? The offense that you're going to have in week 12 is not the offense you have in week 1. So I think the offense definitely can be evolving. And then 2, at least the first few games, you didn't really need all the window dressing necessarily, right? Like, you were having success doing so much other stuff. Now, Colorado State, you really didn't have that success till the last drive and so on. Right. But who knows? Unless we're in the coach's office, we're not going to know the exact answer. But I think if we're just speculating, the offense is continuing to evolve. They didn't necessarily need to use all of those motions. Maybe they didn't want to show it all either. And so, it could be a variety of things, but definitely an interesting note that you picked up on for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, going into this game against Arizona State, in your mind, what are some of the keys, to success or victory for the Buffs and Shedeur? What are some opportunities you feel like there are there for the offense attacking this Sun Devils defense?
Yeah. So, to be honest, I think it's like we've talked about the past few weeks, except for last week. I think it's same story, different team. Even though Arizona State's not the same quality of opponent you had in USC and Oregon. Hell, you may be able to argue that USC's defense is on par with Arizona State's defense, But with that said, I think it's same story, different team. That's how can you avoid pressure, right? That's how can you protect the quarterback. And so I think number one, like we talked about, I think using the legs can be an advantage. Like I don't think you want him to, like you don't want a quarterback like Shedeur taking a bunch of hits, but I still think utilizing his ability to run can slow down the pass rush. I think getting the ball out quick is always, it's always an easy thing to say, like, how do you avoid the pass rush? Get the ball out quick. Well, no duh, but how do you go about that, right? So I think you have to have a plan, right? So I think you get the ball out quick in order to set up some of those deep throws. Like Shedeur has, I want to say 15 passing touchdowns. You might know the top of your head, but I think it's right about 15. And I know 7 of those passing touchdowns have come off explosive plays or have come off plays where the ball's thrown 20 yards or more downfield, so almost half. But I think you set that up. So I think that you get the ball out quick, and hopefully that slows down some of the pass rush. Then you have more time to take those deep shots. I think you are going to be able to hit those deep shots, and you probably need to hit some deep shots to continue to have the success in offense. So I think it comes down to using the legs again. I think it comes down to getting the ball out quick and hopes and, in order to set up the passing or the deep explosive plays, a deep passing game. But I think it all comes back to, can we just avoid the pressure, right? If you mimic what you did against USC, you're probably going to have a pretty good amount of success against Arizona State. And Arizona State, like their defense isn't great by any means, right? But like if you look at the scores they played, they gave up 42 points to USC, but they slowed down Caleb Williams at times. I think there was 2 quarters that USC didn't score any points. You might want to double check on that, but they slowed him down at times. Caleb Williams still had 5 total touchdowns and pulled it off easily. But against Cal, 24 points. Against Fresno, they gave up 29. Against Oklahoma State, they gave up 27. Cal and Oklahoma State offenses aren't great. Fresno's offense is pretty good for a Mountain West team, but those aren't like great numbers, but they're a competent defense. You know what I mean? Like it's not like their offense struggles more than their defense is because their offense is missing a few key pieces. So, so I think their defense can keep them in the game-ish, but I think long-winded answer, it's the same story, just a different team that they're playing. Slow down the pass rush, and those are the few keys on how to potentially do that.
Do you know offhand, because I know you've mentioned this before, and apologies if you already have.
No.
Did you know what Shedeur's numbers were by chance, like off of play action this past week? Because I know that has been so important for him, in the previous weeks.
It was better. I don't know if I have the exact numbers here, but it was definitely much better. I have written down much better off play action. Like you were able to utilize play action more. If here in a second, if you start talking about something, I'll see if I can look it up and find the exact numbers.
That sounds great. Yeah. The other thing I can say too, it's really going to be important to keep Shedeur up. Another thing that I've kind of been trying to make sense of or wonder why maybe the offense is the way that it is right now. If you look back at Kent State's offense last year, using a lot of 2 tight end sets, they had some big boys at tight end. They were doing some mass protect stuff with Colin Schley back there. Again, he's more of a running quarterback than a guy that, you can trust with, with his arm to take care of things. So, they're running kind of more a smash mouth type of packages and sets. But I've noticed that we haven't really utilized our tight ends much in the passing game. I'm wondering if that's mainly because it's like, hey, sometimes they're only rushing 3 or 4 guys. You want some more wide receivers out there creating some space. Sometimes we'll have our running back serve as, a pass protector. But just trying to understand kind of this passing schemes. I don't think Michael Harrison's strengths right now are blocking. He's definitely utilized better, having him stretch the field. But that is something that I would like to see the offense incorporate a little bit more, just to keep that defense guessing a little bit.
I'm with you. That makes sense. And to answer your question, against USC, he was 14 of 21 for $173 and a touchdown off play action. So 43% of the dropbacks of his passes were off play action. So a much higher increase than the past few games. Like that's probably the best numbers we've seen off play action since the TCU game, I think. You're right. Really good numbers there.
TCU, he was money. Yeah, like 93% completion off of play action. It was insane. But I think that's a key for anybody that's watching. To realize that if we're able to get that play action going, even if it's just a half decent running game, to where we're keeping the defense kind of on their heels just a little bit. Shedeur Sanders is able to to take that inch of space and go a mile with it, so to speak. And Just to summarize again, where we're at in terms of what he is doing compared to the history of this program, almost 1,800 passing yards right now. 3,200 yards even is the school record in a single season. He's absolutely going to destroy that. And he is already more than halfway there when it comes to touchdowns, which is 28. He's absolutely going to destroy any passing numbers we've seen. And if he comes back for his senior year next year, he should be able to break, I think the career passing yards is like around 6,800 yards, if I remember correctly. I think, man, having another season, another recruiting cycle, man, I think he should be the leader in all passing categories throughout the whole program by the time he's done here, which is just crazy.
Yeah. Hey, you called that before the season. You called that he would break all the passing records. So,
not that they were the highest mark passing records, but yeah, man, it feels great to see his success. And I guess like right now, Stephen, let's kind of zoom out a little bit at the greater college football world this week. We got some great matchups. Of course, we got Texas OU. What? Maybe we spend a little bit talking about that matchup first. Quinn Ewers against the Dillon Gabriel.
Dillon Gabriel. Yep.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that big time matchup this weekend?
Yeah, super. I know you'll be tuned in just being from the Texas area or going to school in Texas, and of course being in Austin, we'll be tuned into it as well. But like down in Austin, like this team is now it's starting to get like more like national attention, I guess. But this team is like a legit college football playoff contending team. But so is Oklahoma is the thing, especially if they beat Texas. So I think you got like two, I don't know if evenly matched is the right word. Texas is definitely the favorite. But as far as like power ranking goes and like where they rank offensively and defensively, they're in striking range. The Oklahoma defense has been fantastic. However, their three best teams they've played on offense has been Cincinnati, Iowa State, and SMU. Not exactly the best three offenses, but still they've done exactly what you're supposed to do against those teams. So I think for Quinn, if we're talking Quinn Ewers in Texas, I think the number one key, I think there's a few keys, but I think number one, something that he's done really good as of late, and he's made this improvement from last year, is using his legs a bit more and not necessarily in the run game. Now he's had some success in the run game that at the past few games. I think he already has 5 rushing touchdowns this year, and last year he only had 1. So he's definitely showcased an improved athleticism, but it's his movement in the pocket. So I think that the movement in the pocket is going to help, one, buy some time, then set up some more throws. So I think it's using that helps anticipation. Then 2, he's been outstanding against the blitz. And teams, when they're blitzed, when they're bringing pressure against Texas, they haven't been able to get a ton of pressure. So just because the teams are blitzing doesn't mean that he's under pressure per se, right? He's only been under pressure 20% of his dropbacks compared to Shedeur's like 35 or more or something. Okay. I can't remember exactly.
Substantial.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, regardless what the number is, it's a lot more. But against the blitz, Quinn Ewers is 43 of 60 for 499 yards passing and 6 touchdowns. So when teams are blitzing, most of the times they're not able to get pressure to him, so they're just creating more space to throw, and he's able to pick them apart. So he has done great there. And the one question that I kind of wrote down whenever I was breaking this down is he going to need to take vertical shots to win? He's only had 4 completions. He's 4 of 19 on balls thrown 20 yards or more, which isn't a big deal if you think about the offense. Now, Shedeur's had 14 completions, 20 yards or more downfield. Quinn's only had 4, but you've been, for the most part, able to kind of boat race teams. You haven't needed to. And 2 of those completions were big touchdown passes against Alabama, right? So my question is, do you need to take vertical shots to win? I think you're one of the best receiving groups in the nation. I think if he needs to, he can definitely do it. But yeah, those are the takeaways from Quinn. I got some stuff on Gabriel too, unless you want to touch on Quinn a little bit more or have anything to touch on there.
For those maybe in the audience who haven't watched these teams, I've watched a little bit of Texas. I haven't watched any of OU yet, so this would be pretty interesting. Kind of broke down some of the strengths that Ewers has in how he plays. What are the strengths to Dillon Gabriel's game? Yeah,
so Gabriel, I think to win is actually kind of similar to to Ewers, at least number one. I think he can use his legs. He does use his legs a bit more. He has 4 rushing touchdowns. And Texas's defense has been awesome. The defense line is great, getting a ton of pressure, just like Oklahoma. So I think him using his legs can, one, potentially slow down the pass rush. But something with Oklahoma and Dillon Gabriel, which is really interesting, is 58% of his passes are off play action. So they are really relying on play action to get defenses out of position. Quinn uses a bunch of play action too. I think he's like 49% are play action. But I think if you're Texas, if you can stop the run and make them go straight drop back as opposed to using play action, sometimes for quarterbacks that can be more troubling or could be more challenging to not have that play action to your advantage. Like, you can't use play action to help get defense out of position. You got to drop straight back. So yeah, they've had a ton of success, but they've had so much success off play action. So I think for Oklahoma, if you stay out of 3rd and longs or 2nd and longs, even if it's a 3rd and 5, 2nd and 7, like, the threat of the run game is still there. We can use play action to hopefully get guys out of position. And then Gabriel, unlike the Texas offense, OU's used a lot of explosive plays. He's 13 of 22 on balls thrown 20 yards or more downfield. So really, really good. Like, more than a third of his passing numbers he's thrown for right over 1,500 yards this season. More than a third are off 13 completions. He has like 548 yards on those 13 completions. So if you're Texas and you don't allow the big plays and you take away the run game, there's no play action, then it might be hard for Oklahoma and the offense to move. But if you can at least keep the threat of play action, at least keep the threat and have a success shot or two throwing the ball deep, then Oklahoma is definitely more likely to win if they can do that than if they can't. So it's interesting because they have a lot of similarities, but also differences, right, between Quinn and Gabriel, and this is the offenses in general.
Well, man, I can't wait to watch this game because, it was kind of a buzzkill, last year with OU having their quarterback out, having Gabriel out, and it was just a rout. I'm hoping that this is a really close game, and it's been nice to see. I think Venables, has done a really good job rebounding after kind of a tough transition year last year with losing a lot of guys in the portal, to USC and whatnot. He's done a good job. Sark is doing a great job with Texas. I mean, this last recruiting class has just been, really helpful in, establishing kind of where they can go, and I think both of these teams, man, whoever wins the Big 12, man, I think that they're going to be a threat in the college football playoff this year, no doubt, and can't wait to just see how all this turns out. Are there any other matchups right now that, as quarterback fans, we just need to keep our eyes on this weekend?
So definitely A&M, Alabama. I think there's some interesting storylines there. Max Johnson, backup quarterback, played well against Arkansas last week. Can he do it again? There's some stuff he does well going up against one of the best defenses in the nation. Then, of course, Bama's quarterback, Jalen Milroe, going up against a tough A&M defense. I think those are interesting storylines there too, like kind of complete opposite quarterbacks, but fun to watch nonetheless. And then Kentucky and Georgia should be interesting. Devin Leary, the quarterback for Kentucky, is someone I was really high on going into the season. Offensively, they haven't had that production. He hasn't had the success that he's wanted. Can that change against Georgia? Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? There's some stuff that definitely has to happen. And then, Carson Beck. Carson Beck's only got he's only been under pressure 16% of his dropbacks, which is incredible. But they relied on him and Brock Bowers to beat Auburn last week. Like, without them, who knows how the game ends up. So interesting stuff to watch there. The only other big, Jaden Daniels is playing unreal for LSU. If they had a defense, they would maybe still be undefeated. And then MJ Morris is starting for NC State this week as opposed to Brennan Armstrong, the former UVA quarterback. So interesting to see how that happens. Armstrong getting benched. They haven't had much success on offense. Of course, there's a bunch of other quarterback matchups, but I'll keep it not too geeky. But those are probably the main ones to focus on. I'm sure I'm missing on some.
No, that's great. Well, last week, I was expecting a little bit more of a shootout, I guess, between Notre Dame and Duke. But that was crazy, how Notre Dame loses on the last play a couple of weeks ago. And then essentially, on the last play of the game this past weekend, they win. Really interested to see how Sam Hartman performs this week going on the road against 5-0 Louisville.
Yep.
So that's going to be another really entertaining matchup. And again, like, man, this year for quarterback play it's been incredible.
Yeah.
And it's college football fans, just enjoy it. Colin Boone is saying this. It's going to be real fun on Saturday.
Yeah, it is.
Absolutely. And Steven, again, really appreciate you taking the time to meet with me pretty much every week. It's a lot of fun breaking down Shedeur and other college quarterback play. It means a lot. Before we wrap up, is there anything that you got coming the rest of the week that viewers should take notice to, or keep their eye out for, or what can people expect from you after the games this weekend?
Yeah, well, I'm trying to do some more film breakdowns like we've done in the past. YouTube makes it kind of tough to do. So I may have found a way around it, maybe not, who knows. But we'll definitely have a few recaps on Sunday. We'll do a Sunday live show, just recapping all the quarterback play. And then we'll do a preview live show sometime next week. And then, we'll have some little breakdowns in between. That's kind of the setup we got now. And then after football season is kind of the fun time for us, because we have all the quarterbacks actually come on the show and talk quarterback content, former, current quarterback. So it's kind of fun if you're a quarterback junkie, kind of like myself. But that's what we got going on, dude. So,
man, I love it. Well, y'all be sure to go subscribe to QB Spotlight. Again, link is in the description to my video. He's putting stuff out every day, always making sure he's talking Shedeur, but also other quarterbacks as well, like he said. So it means a lot. Again, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Be sure to hit that like on the way out. And as always, Sko Buffs. All right. Thanks again, Steven. That went super well.